Hi everyone, it is Marie here from Skeins, and it is day 34 of the Quarantine Diaries, Tuesday the 28th of April, and it's level 3! Yes! We've all entered into level 3 today, and that is really exciting. I know for a number of us it means that they're able to return back to work, our mill included. And also, too, for many of you, if you're essential workers or you are back at work, a few of you have got your kids going back to school, or you're actually now able, dare I say it, I heard there were queues at certain takeaway outlets this morning to get that first fix of takeaway food after 5 long weeks. So there is a whole load of things that have changed today. So I thought today I would give you a bit of an update on what's going on with my progress with the Rambler, and actually some of the updates and changes that we've got happening with Skeins as of today to help you with your knitting. Because whilst there has been many changes for some, on one hand, for a huge number of us, other than a few extra freedoms, it's pretty much business as usual for at least the next 2 weeks. So that's still plenty of knitting time up the sleeve. So I'm also going to bring you some yarns that have just been loaded and come back into stock, as well as some pattern ideas of things that if you're looking for something new to get cast on and you're wanting to purchase something and to be able to do it, some ideas to be able to do that. So good morning to everybody. If you've got any questions for me this morning, if there are any burning questions that you want answered, pop them in the comments. I'll make sure I keep a really close eye on those as well. Can't guarantee I'll be able to answer them, but I will do my best. So the first thing I want to do, and I'll just say good morning. Oh gosh, everyone's here this morning, nice and early, good morning. Wasn't Peter wonderful yesterday? I actually think it was good that wasn't my microphone that died. It's quite funny. You may have heard it. My dog started barking, and it was because the rubbish truck had come to get the rubbish, which, of course, you know, for them was great excitement. So I muted my microphone because Peter was into a really interesting part, and I didn't want him to just disturbed. And then the program, when I unmuted it, didn't actually unmute it. And I thought, oh, you don't want to listen to me. It's nice to listen to Peter, and he's such a font of knowledge, and he's really wonderful, and I want to get him back on for other things. And in fact, it was suggested to me that I get potentially Ian Kelly on as well, which I would love to have Ian here. And Peter mentioned Ian in his chat, but he also mentioned that Ian is a man of few words, and it would probably be Skeins' shortest quarantine diaries ever, because Ian is not fond of being overly verbose. Mind you, he is very passionate about spinning in the trade, and I am sure that if I can coax him on with the technology, I could potentially coax information out of him. So I might have that as a bit of a project. I'll see how I go. But today I thought I would show you my progress with my Rambler, and yes, and a few different yarns and bits and pieces. But I really was delighted with it. It was so good to catch up with Peter. Anyway, Rambler, let's get on to Rambler. Here is my oopsie as she runs into the bag. And I'm sorry about my creaking chair. I keep thinking, oh, I've got to get the CRC out and uncreak it, and I keep forgetting. Right, so look. Ta-da! Yeah, progress is going really well. So where I'm at currently with the Rambler is it is now sitting essentially at my waist. So I've managed to get a lot done over the last couple of days. And what I have been doing, first I'll show you the shaping. So I have been doing, oopsie, as you, oh, there we go. Come on, Maureen. There we go. Let's get the sleeve out of the way. As you can see, some very subtle shaping. Just there, just a very subtle A-line across there. And I've been doing that shaping. So for those that are knitting this, I mean, if you don't require the shaping, fabulous, you're better than me. I do. Yeah, I'm built like a wigwam. I need well, 2 wigwams, one on top of the other. Extreme hourglass. That's what my head believes it is. Anywho, so where I am now for the moment has just been a double increase underneath the arms every 10 rows. So it's been, as you can see, a very subtle thing. And I'm just going to have to do that because someone is wanting to call me and I can't talk to them when I'm talking to you. A very subtle sort of very subtle kind of an A-line. And I had a light bulb moment this morning because I was up at 5:30 this morning. Yes, I had days like that. And I was, by 6 a.m., I was knitting up a storm. And the light bulb went off after the first coffee. And I suddenly thought, I'm actually traditionally not a huge sweater wearer. I have them and I'll wear them around the house. And I believe, I mean, like if this is my favorite thing, put comfy tights on or something, put a sweater on, snuggle up on the couch with the dogs, all there. But I very rarely will wear a sweater out or to work or anything like that. Cardigans, yes. Sweaters, no. But what I do wear are a lot of tunics. So, and I suddenly thought, if I'm going to be putting the shaping in, and I've got a black merino tunic that you guys see me wear all the time. It's one of my go-to pieces. I love it. And I suddenly thought to myself, actually, because there's no massive amount of positive ease in here, but there's enough, and I've built in enough with it, and I put the shaping in. And I've actually now made the decision that I'm going to keep going with this and actually make it a tunic. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One is because that's what I wear in the winter. And I'm loving this so much that I want to be able to wear it. Two, because I've made it with Southlander Sport, and it is this wonderful rustic yarn, it will actually cope with being a tunic. I'd like to put my money where my mouth is with what I've been talking about with the pilling, towards the end of last week. The thing with the tunic, of course, is it goes down over one's posterior. And I sit in an office job, I'm up and down from chairs and all the rest of it. I actually think this yarn will cope really, really well with the fact that it's going to get a lot of arse play. Let's face it, it's going to be up, down, up, down, up, down in chairs. And whatever pilling I will get will be really easily sloughed off either with a sweater stone or a basic D-pillar. So I figured, well, a tunic makes perfect sense because that is something that I like to wear. So that is what I've decided to do. So with that, because I've now I'm now with shaping, had actually hit below my breasts and now down to the top of to my waist. And I do have a defined waist, believe it or not. But then what I do have is, I don't have a muffin top. I have the full bakery girls. It is there. So what I'm now starting to do is I've gone from my 1 in 10 stitch shaping like this, and I've actually now moved it to a 1 in 4 to, actually I might have even done 1 in 5. So I've actually doubled the amount of shaping. So hopefully it will take it and it will now sort of flare it out. So then that way I won't get the grip around that area that I'm concerned about. I could potentially go up a needle size if I wanted to, but I would much rather do it with the shaping at this stage and actually try it on and see how I go. I just think that from a wear perspective would be better. The temptation is to go up the needle size and actually build that in there, and then that way you've got an evenness all the way around that you're increasing. My concern with that is that if I was to go up the needle size, I would be actually opening up the gauge of that garment, and I would be leaving myself open to extra wear or pilling in that area. So I'm going to go conservative at this stage. I think I'm pretty confident that I am going to get away with it. If I need to do a little bit more aggressive blocking through the bottom, I can get away with that too, because you can more aggressively block this way than you can this way. And because I can control the length right from the get-go, I'm not worried about that, but I can build in a little bit of extra ease with blocking if I need to. So that's the plan at the stage with the Rambler, which then means, yes, it's more knitting for me, but I think I'm going to end up with a garment which I'm going to find more wearable in the long term and something that I'll get a lot of use out of in the coming years. So that's the plan for the Rambler. So I'm really happy with how that's gone on. So with level 3, you may have noticed, yes, we're now sending parcels out, and a whole load of you may have had some little love gifts arrive on your doorsteps this morning, which is really exciting for you. Our courier did actually ask to collect all the parcels at the end of last week because they knew of the rush today. So they were holding those. So those were not dispatched out into the community. They were actually being held. And yes, so if you got little love parcels this morning from New Zealand couriers, that's because they wanted to get those out to you, because They are going, this is going to be Courier Christmas for them. They are estimating that the next week especially is going to be just like Christmas week. So they have asked for us to pass on to you, please be a little bit more patient with them. What would normally be an overnight delivery may end up being 2 days. 2-day deliveries may end up being 3 or potentially 4, depending on the movements with ferries and all the rest of it. So there's a whole bunch of different things going on, but be assured that we still have the tracking and all of those things in place. So those bits have gone out. Now I'll just check for some questions before I launch into my show and tell. Right, everyone's up and at 'em this morning. So good to see that. Wow. Oh, Sue, love my scarf. Thanks, Sue. I'm going to mention that while I've got it. Yeah, I like this one because it really goes with this top. This is Hitchhiker, the infamous Hitchhiker from Martina Beam. Actually, Sue, this would go really good with the yarns that you dye. Sue is a dyer from Mahia, which is just up the road, a couple of hours up the road from us here in Napier. Beautiful place, the Mahia Peninsula. What's most famous for, other than its surf beaches, is where Rocket Lab is based. So it's where they launch the rockets from. But this is a Crazy Zalba ball. So it's one Crazy Zalba ball done into a Hitchhiker. So that's what that is. Let's see. Yeah, Peter's talk was great. He really did enjoy himself, which was good. He loves to talk. He really does love it. Okay, Sue is asking, how does Southlander yarn soften after blocking? I'm knitting with it now. Yeah, it does soften a little bit. So, I mean, it won't soften anything like a merino, but yes, it will soften a little. I've got garments that I've been making with this stuff for 15 plus years, and I have to say it loses that initial crunch. Does that make sense? I use, we have a product called Skeins Super Soft. I think we've actually got it back in stock online. It's a commercial softener that we use. I have used that on it, and I give it a really good soak in that. But if I don't have that, I don't panic. I actually use commercial fabric softener that you use in your normal laundry. I find that actually works really. In fact, that's what I use for, if I don't have Super Soft, and in fact, I don't use Super Soft for all my blocking. I only use it on the coarser yarns. I use actually fabric softener for my soaking and blocking. I just find that it does actually add a little level of softness, and most of them have fragrances that I like. I like fragrance, that's just me. Hair conditioner, just a plain cheap old hair conditioner, that works surprisingly well as well. When it comes to the washing for the blocking, you're not actually washing it, you're soaking it. And actually I find conditioners work really, really well with that. And yeah, they do soften over wear. So yeah, it's great. Oh yeah, no, there you go. Delene said a little bit. Is rustic yarn better for outerwear? Yep. And see, even though I'm making that as a tunic, I will probably wear that against the skin because it doesn't phase me so much. But see, come the height of winter, 9 times out of 10, I'll have a fine merino under a tunic anyway, or a thermal. So if you're wearing a thin layer like that, you can actually put something like that as a layer over the top. No trouble anymore. Sarah saying, kudos, Marie, for getting Dad live on Facebook yesterday and with video and audio. I know. Oh, yes, Sarah, you should have been here for the conversation half an hour before me walking him through how to actually get the video switched on, but we got there. He's a work in progress, says, but we're getting there. It's only taken us, 12 years, but I think we're doing really well. We're doing so well. Alrighty. Gosh, everyone's out and about this morning. I thought you'd be all out doing stuff and in gardens and a little bit more exciting and everything instead of hanging around for me. Right. Show and tell. So the mill is open, which is so exciting. They went back at 7 a.m. this morning. The team, honestly, we were all in a big group Hangouts chat, and they're super, super excited to get back to work. For those who are concerned about the team, in terms of that, they've got full procedures. Because we're a manufacturing environment anyway at the mill, as you can imagine, we already have very strident health and safety procedures in place, both with health and safety with WorkSafe and also too with MPI, because we are actually a mill that processes fibre from from raw fibre all the way through to a finished process in some cases. So we already work within a highly regulated and procedural environment. So adding in additional COVID procedures has actually been fairly straightforward for us, which has been great for the team because it means that it's a lot easier for them to actually work within normal environs and not have to panic. So obviously the hygiene elements are all there in terms of hand washing, and social distancing isn't actually really an issue for us at the mill. If any of you have ever been on tours of the mill, the machines are all very spread out. No one works side by side with each other. So I think that probably the closest that you'll see people work together in the mill is potentially in the dye house or in the finishing area, where they're easily able to maintain 2 metres, even though 1 metre is the criteria for manufacturing. So keeping them safe is easy peasy lemon squeezy. It just means they all have to spread out now for smoko. I think for some of them that won't worry them particularly much. So they're all back and excited. And also at Skeins, our warehouse team, I think Claire and Damien are there today. It means that Damien is now allowed help for the most part across lockdown, and while the warehouse has been open in level 4. He's pretty much been running solo there, and he's only had a little bit of extra helps here and there when we've had permission to do so. So it is... it has been, a really exciting time for them, and it's really nice for them to be able to pack up all those yarn orders, and instead of having them sit there in a basket waiting to be collected, they can all go out every day. So for everyone that, so a number of you will be receiving orders today and tomorrow, and we will be dispatching orders pretty much as they come in. So we do them all chronologically. I think they were starting to pack from orders received lunchtime Friday. Obviously long weekend, we've had a lot of orders through. So if you ordered across the weekend, particularly towards the end of the weekend or yesterday, your order may not go out until Wednesday, Thursday dispatch from us, and then whatever your delivery window is with the courier. So don't get to sort of Thursday or Friday and be hitting the email saying, where's my order? Believe me, it will come. And if there is any reason why it won't be coming, we will be reaching out and letting you know. But trust me, you will get there. It won't, we can't, obviously everything isn't quite back to normal yet, but we're a lot closer than what we were this time a few weeks ago. So to that end, we've also had a number of yarns that sort of all came in just before the lockdown happened, and we never got a chance to actually get them up, or we've just been so swamped with all these other things that we've had to do. So what I thought I would do is clear over the weekend. She was actually able to get a bit of free time because she's been homeschooling and doing everything else with her family, that she was able to actually get some of these up. I apologise now for the photographs because I took the photographs here at home, and some of them they're not within our normal lighting setup, and obviously we haven't been able to send them up to the wonderful Steph to have her to do them, but they will give you an idea, they will get you started. And some of these are actually some items that were supposed to be in for a sale and didn't quite make it. So the first thing I wanted to show you with these guys here, and these are mahanas. If you're a local, you may recognise these because these did come in for sale time, but we only had them as an exclusive in the Skeins shop. We now have not a huge amount of these left, but we do have what is remaining. Obviously, we're now putting online. So what they are a couple of overdyes. That's a sort of, they're really lovely greens. That's a really deep, piney sort of green, and that one is more of a greenstony, sort of sagey green. So they're actually tonally on the same spectrum, but one is just much deeper than the other. They're on our mahana base, which is the alpaca, 90% alpaca with 10% polyester. Absolutely delicious. So those are both now up. The other things that are up, in case you missed them the other day, and they're hidden on the hidden on the sale page. I did pop these up the other day. Those are a couple of silk blends. These have actually been going really, really well. This one is called Cadenza, and that one is called Madrigal. So they are still there. They're on the sale page. And the other things that have gone up are these, and I'm going to talk about these all in a second. We under mohair, you'll find these if you go into search yarn by fibre type. You will find these in here. These are super fine Cegia mohairs, Vivian mohairs. These were all that we could get just prior to the sale. We have got an order in for some of the other colours we're out of stock of, but we have got those three. So a beautiful ice blue, the white, and the royal blue there. And I'm going to show you actually what you can potentially do with those, but those are now up and live. And last but not least, I want to show you these. Someone was asking a few weeks ago about merino lace. Did we have any lace weight yarns? Here they are. So these are some really fine, and I mean, when I say fine, fine as in soft, 2-ply lace weight. We have them both. We've got some solid shades, and then we've got the Chine shades here, which are just like a marl. They're the Centre Lavage, which we've had these Centre Lavages before. These are some more discontinued colours from our, actually that's probably not a, let's do a darker one, that might be easier for you to see. There you go, up against my finger there. We've had some Centre Lavage before, incredibly soft. If you're a lace weight knitter and you've been looking for some lace, these are ideal, but a lot of lace weight stuff now, of course, is obviously double stranded back with the likes of these. So if you've got a project that is using superfine mohair with a lace weight, you can now do some combinations there. These are all sitting on our sale page. We were able to secure these at a really good price. They're usually, I mean, these are 100 gram hanks, and I can't remember what the normal price is. It's somewhere in the vicinity of late 20s, $30. We've got these up for $14.95, so a really good price. And as I said, there's a mixture of both solids and marls, but there's also, actually I'm going to show you these marls too, but there's some really lovely sort of natural shade combinations there, which, you know, if you're doing a larger, like if you're double stranding, for example, or triple stranding, that would work incredibly well. Or we've got, there you go, with the navy and the Chine. So there are, if you're prepared to be a little bit adventurous, these are amazing. If you're a machine knitter, and I know that there are ones of you out there who are machine knitters, these would be amazing. If you're a weaver, these would be amazing because they're all worsted spun. So even though they're a lace weight, they're actually relatively strong. And whilst I wouldn't necessarily, actually you probably could walk with that. Yeah, you probably could walk with that. So these, if you're looking at doing some really fine weaving, these would be amazing. So not just for knitting or crochet. So those are all up and live on the sale page now. And I apologise now for my photography. I'm no Steph, which is why we get Steph to do them now. But just to also know, a lot of these, we don't have a massive amount of them. So some of them we literally, I think the most we've got of one colour is 2 bags, which is like 10, or I think it might be 10 hanks, might have been 3 bags, 15 hanks. A lot of them, some of them are only 2 or 3 hanks in a shade. So bearing in mind with that lace weight, I'll give you the meterages, and she hasn't got glasses on. There we go, 1,400 meters per hank. So obviously a project, most hanks will do a single project. So those are up. Exciting, eh? Really exciting. Right, just making sure that Right, so to that end, with the mill being back, and I'll get on to restocks and then I'll do some interesting project stuff. Peter, bless him, sent me through a list of stuff this morning. Now, these are indicative, and obviously today is their first day back, so they're still trawling through some stuff. But these are actually some items that were going through the mill just before lockdown. So they're already quite a ways through the process, so we know where we're at. So we've got, and a lot of these are in clumps, all right? And I know some of you have been asking about these. So the first ones to mention are Pearl Luster. So we've got Rosaline and Cream Rose. We're both sitting in caking, which is our finishing area. So they go into caking, and then they go into balling, and then they come to us. So that means that those are now fairly imminent. Fingers crossed we will have these within the next 1 to 2 weeks. And I know that I had someone ask me about Rosaline, Pearl Luster Rosaline, over the weekend. So if you are watching or listening, that is actually not that far away. I wasn't too sure how far away it was, but it's very, very imminent. Also, in the next cluster of stuff coming through is we've done a whole heap of orb, both orb fine and orb DK, and you saw some of those in terms of the new orb fine colors. So they were the first lot that literally got released the day that we got locked down, but there was a whole bunch more orb coming in behind it, and so those include in the DK Mountain Mist, Florence and Blake. So they will be coming through, fingers crossed, relatively quickly. And Blossom is in there as well. And then in the fine, which will follow on, there is Rook Gold and Mist. So all those orbs are due to be restocked in the first flush, and then the other one to be restocked in the first flush. These are all things that are already in the pipeline and in the system before we lock down, was Perindale. So there's Powder Blue, Denim Blue, Cyclamen, Fawn Cream, Ice Blue, Wild Cherry, Navy and La Rosa. And if any of you have been on our Perindale page, you know that we desperately need all the Perindale that we can get. So all of those were actually moving through the mill at the time that we locked down. So all of them hopefully should be through relatively quickly. What I endeavour to do is make sure that I will, every week, I'll give you sort of an update in social media, here on the videos while we're still in lockdown, of what's coming in, so you can do a bit of planning. Speaking of planning, I haven't done this for ages, and I thought I would do it today because we are now at a point that we don't necessarily need from Stash. We can actually purchase something if we so desire. So I jumped onto the interweb and had a look at some sort of patterns that were hot right now. There's a couple of newbies and a couple of ones that we've talked about, but things that we are able to do. And the first one I'm going to start off with is one that you are all familiar with, which is Love Note. And I should have actually brought mine in. Mine's inside. So you've all seen my Love Note, which is in these warm terracotta colours. Now, Love Note is by Tin Can Knits. It's probably been the it sweater of the Northern Hemisphere winter season. I knitted one in January over the summer holidays. It's a really pleasurable thing to knit. Now this, and I've particularly chosen this example to show you, is they've gone and recommended it in 2 yarns. So I knitted mine in a DK because that was the recommendation, was on a DK yarn, and that's what I had to hand. I have mentioned it before. I have found personally, I love it, I adore it, I knitted it, I've worn it several times. However, I do find the gauge a little bit too sloppy for a DK. If I'm going to knit it again, I'm actually going to pull my needles back, pull my gauge back, not a huge amount, but just a wee bit from where it's at, and then just probably just reduce back the amount of positive ease that it has got in there. It is a very loosely fitting cardigan, sweater rather. So that's what I'm going to do personally. And, you know, to be honest with you, these new Mahanas in a love, if you're going to do a DK Love Note, would be fabulous because they're so beautiful and drapey, and these colours are just delicious. And their needle recommendation, I think it's a 6mm needle, 4.5mm and 6mm. To be honest with you, I would do a 4mm and a 5mm if I were to do this again. And that gauge, I think, will just help the yarn out. Southlander DK actually would also work fabulously well in this, and it would give really good structure to the lace. However, it's not where I'm going with this conversation, because we now finally have some fine mohairs in stock, and I know a number of you want to do this with a mohair. So in this, it was designed to use 1 fingering weight yarn with a mohair lace weight. So here's the mohair lace weight, and in terms of fingering weight yarns, we've actually got, with these colours, a variety of options. So the obvious option is with cream, if you wanted to go very ethereal. And those are the two suggestions that I would have. This one on this side is the Legacy, which is incredible. And in fact, actually both of these would work just fine. That's the Legacy. So the Legacy is beautifully soft, nice high twist, and it's got really good structure, organic merino and Polworth. This side, this one on top, my camera does not like that white, that cream yarn. This is just skein sock. Just plain old skein sock and cream, 100 gram balls. So of the two of them, from a financial perspective, this is definitely your luxury option. This is more your value option. In terms of a finished garment, to be honest with you, one half dozen or another, whatever you prefer. I mean, if it were me, I'd do this because I just adore them. However, that is definitely one option if you're wanting to go cream. If you were, and this cream would also work really well if you had other paler shades of yarn. I mean, ignore this, this is a thicker shade, but then that's also a grey. If you've got a very soft grey, that would work. Actually, the other yarn that would work really well with this, and it would just give you a weeny bit more depth, would be Sockmatician Edition in Milk. With this, I think would look really, really lovely. It would just give you a wee bit more depth, and it would actually help you it would just, you'd have the grey and the fleck through there. That'd be quite lovely. The other yarn to consider is still in sock, and I'm sorry these balls are so tatty because they've come from my ball scraps bag left over from the can cruise. So none of them have ball bands, and they're all quite ratty, but I've just checked to make sure that all of these are in stock, so you don't then say, Marie, you recommended that and you don't have any, because I'm known to do that. I'm hopeless. Anyway, Great Lakes with the blue. And see, I mean, that's quite deep. Not everyone would want it that deep. So what would happen is you merge these two together and you end up visually with a blue somewhere in between. But as long as they're tonal, they would look fantastic. So that's another really good option. I mentioned before, if you had a grey or even a really light blue, this is a very, very light, pale shade. This would work with any sort of light shades that you have. The thing that I love about this, though, and again, it comes up down to the gauge. Like, I've seen that Love Note knitted with a fingering weight and that lace weight mohair. It is still very light in the cardigan. I actually think you could quite comfortably do a DK weight, especially if it's at the finer end of DK, and add that lace weight mohair. And I think these two are a match made in heaven. So this is the cadenza with that soft mohair, and look at that. So you will get I mean, this is already a very soft print. The mohair will soften it out even further, but that as a combination in Love Note, I think would be utterly divine. You would do it as written. I think it would be amazing. So those are some really nice options there for Love Note. And just so you're aware, for those who've not had, I know I've talked about Love Note before, but not everybody may have caught up. Love Note, you can actually knit it from children all the way through to adults. And if you're looking at adult sizes, you are looking at, for regular length, saying, this is, so if you're looking at the larger sizes, and to be honest with you, I did the second to largest size for me, and it was still too big. So you're looking at around anywhere between 1,000 to 1,400 yards. I didn't do the metrages on that, so that's around 900 to 1,300 meters is what you would be looking. But yeah, so it's not too bad. And you know, if I'm brutally honest, I think with mine, I ended up having leftover. And I did a semi-cropped and long sleeve. So that's Love Note. Again, don't panic. I'll put the comments in the, I will put all of those in there. Oh, Annie's saying, how many mahana would you use for a Love Note on size for a 5 and 4 millimeter needle? Good question, Annie. Depending on the size that you're doing, I would say 10 would actually be comfortable. I think 10's 1,000 meters, and I know that I had 10 of the DK in the Cove for me, and I didn't use them all. I had because I knitted a hat. I had one, so I ended up using 8.5, I think. Look, I would even take 12, and I don't know what size you're doing, so I would. But in that vicinity would definitely do it. But even just looking at the pattern and knitting other things like that before, I would have thought 10, 12 at an outside would do that. What was I going to show you next? Right. Next, Anakin to the old Rambler here. And I saw someone posted this up in Skein Speakeasy, this pattern. I thought, ooh. And I thought, I don't know whether it was Manic Maiden, because this is very her. Someone posted this up. And if you're in here, let me know if it's you. There it is there. Isn't that gorgeous? So this is Goldwing by Jennifer Steingass. Absolutely beautiful. I really like the complete reverse out of colour work here. I think the colour work in that is beautiful. I love the monochromatic colour work. Now this is done, it's a 20 stitch gauge using anywhere from 3.5 to 4mm needles. Now I can tell you right now, this has got Southlander DK written all over it. It is the perfect yarn for this pattern. If you go into the Ravelry page and have a look at this, and particularly this project, you'll see that this is made with a really rustic yarn, just like Southlander oatmeal, Southlander charcoal, enough said. And if you don't want it in that combination and you want it reversed out, there it is in reverse. And even that with lake blue or dusky blue or any of the other printed colours that we have at the top would be absolutely incredible. I just think, I mean, now that I've had a bit of taste of colour work, I'm quite keen to do some more, and I just think that's divine. Some of the stats on that are the yardage she's saying, well, the sizings in inches are 36 inch up to 67.5 inch. That's incredibly generous sizing, or 91 centimetres to 169 centimetre busts. So that is unbelievably generous sizings there. So then you're essentially looking at 1,000 metres up to, well, she's saying 1,000 to 2,000 metres, 1,000 to 2,000 metres. And so you're looking at, for Southlander comes in 200 gram balls, 400 meters per ball. So you're looking at from 3, well, actually, even depending, I didn't get the breakdown of what the color combos are, but yeah, it's so good. I just think it's amazing. Definitely got Southlander written all over it. If you want something a little, now, and the other thing too, speaking of, is that particularly, actually I'll switch this one around for that one, is that Bandit. This is where Bandit comes in really beautifully, because Bandit yarns, regular Bandit is the same count as our Southlander, within deads but close to, and it means that if you're wanting to do the colour work in the Bandit, so like if you're really wanting to add a pop of colour to that colour work, and I'm just looking at that thinking, and I'll just pull this up to show you, I mean, that with the charcoal is the main colour. Imagine that with you've got the daring in there, the frolic, which is that bright, beautiful acidic green. So if you're wanting more of a daring pop of colour for your colour work in this project, then I would then look at Southlander with Bandit. I just think that they would look absolutely the noise. So that one is Goldwing by Jennifer Steingass. So I will make sure that that is in the links. And last but not least, as I know so many of you are really excited about Starflanket from Stephen West, and a number of you have already started and cast it on, because I've seen pictures in the speakeasy, and you can get Bandit kits over at Outlaw Yarns, and obviously we've got Bandit as well, and Bandit is perfect for that, or you could go for a little bit of luxury and do some Bohemia worsted. But Stephen West also has another pattern that has been really hot right now, and I've seen a number of people do it, is this one here, which is called the Painting Bricks Shawl, and this is the DK version there. He's also written it in a full ply version with the black there. And the reason I pulled this one up is if you are you've still got some scraps, this is great for scraps. It's part of the reason he put it out. If you have got some scraps out there, this is a really good option. I personally would do this in a DK. I think this in a DK would look incredible. And I've gone and pulled out from my little bag of tricks these are a selection of the pearl and black pearl yarns that I had when I grasped them. There they are there. But the other thing is we also have in both pearl and black pearl this really fantastic black, which isn't a complete black. It's sort of got the fleck in it because of the silk. So if you're wanting to do this darker version here and you're wanting a really lovely soft yarn, I think pearl is an absolute perfect yarn for this project. Whether it be regular pearl or black pearl, the colors are really tonal, they work together. Because you've got the black in between, it actually breaks them up. They don't need to be perfect. But the other neat thing about this is it's exactly the same construction as orb. So that means that if you're wanting to add some orb yarns in here for a little bit of contrast or depth, you can do that too. So that's the Painting Brick Shawls. Orb and pearl, I just think would be utterly ideal, but ultimately any DK would be really, really good. And if you're wanting to do this dark in between, I actually think this one here, this is Barbosa. I think Barbosa is an absolute sitter for that because it's got that, it's really, really soft, and it will actually, because it's those bits in between, so it's stocking, the coloured panels are stocking stitch. You can't really see that on this printer. Coloured panels are stocking stitch, and the grey is garter stitch, which sits up. So this sitting up, you want something that is actually quite soft in the raised garter panel. So then if you've got stuff that isn't as soft within those brick portions, so your mortar in this and your brick portions are something like a Southland or a Bandit, then this actually will minimize that quite a bit, because this is what's actually sitting out and sitting forward against the skin. So that one's the Painting Brick Shawl by Stephen West. So there are some ideas to, if you run out of knitting, to get you knitting, and I hope you enjoy those. And I will keep you up to date, as I said, with stocks as they come in. And now that we're actually back to work in the warehouse, we'll get a better handle on, Claire's gone in now, she'll get a better handle on what's there and getting stocks updated and all those bits and pieces. So that will be really cool. I still have some quarantine diaries to run. I'm going to run definitely through to the end of level 3 every day. I've had confirmation Rachel Heron. I will have her on the show this week on Thursday. Really looking forward to that. And I've also got a couple of other people lined up for next week as well, which will be loads of fun too. So do make sure you keep hanging about. I'm not going anywhere. I will still be here in the she shed. So until then, I will see you again tomorrow, and have a great day in level 3. And if you are getting takeaways, enjoy them. I think I might leave it a day or two before the rush subsides before I rush off. But oh yeah, I have to admit, I've got 2 teenage boys that are hanging out for their fix of anything that isn't their mother's cooking. So until then, take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow.